The Restorative Community Coalition is in the business to reclaim lives. It is striking that the prison population in this country has increased, it has quadrupled since 1970s.
I started the Restorative Community Coalition 7.5 years ago. When we started, we were the Reentry Coalition and we were the first in the state. 80% of our people in prison are nonviolent. 97% of the people in prison will return to community.
The last 5 years I've spent working with Irene Morgan and many different people in the community. We have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people of all walks of life. I've been talking to criminals that I never expected to talk to, people who we label as criminals, but you know what I found out? They're just human beings.
One particular person that comes to mind said that she had been in jail dozens of times. By the time she was 21, she cost society $250,000, $250,000 in those 8 years while she was in and out of jail and prison. Within 5 months and $1,500, she was a fully functional citizen, a taxpayer, going to school, learning how to be the person that society expected her to be. And I believe it's our charge as society to help them be functional so that we can save tax dollars and, more importantly, lives.
I was in 5 prisons in 8 years, and I didn't receive a single day of treatment in any one of those prisons.
We do know that more than 2.7 million children in this country have at least one incarcerated parent.
I was really angry that my dad went to prison. I had a lot of problems in elementary school. I got in a lot of trouble. Didn't know how to socialize with kids. You know, I'd see other kids with their families and wondered why my family wasn't like that.
One of the things that I realized when I started looking at what it takes for a person who is been incarcerated, comes back to society and has to re-enter, I had no idea the barriers they face.
Going to prison is not punishment. Getting out of prison is when you get punished. And you can't just wake up one day and, and function like a normal human being if you spent the majority of your life behind bars. People don't get out of prison wanting to go back to prison. The people that don't want to get out of prison, they don't get out of prison. They stay there, trust me. The problem is that the longer people are locked up, the harder and harder it is to stay out of prison.
They need to be allowed to move forward in their life. The barriers are so huge that most people can't do it. That's why the recidivism rate is so high. Restorative justice is just simply the victim and the perpetrator and the community members that are involved get together, and the victim gets to be heard, gets to be understood.
Restorative justice is probably the most important thing in stopping the cycle. People truly do not understand the price that kids face when their loved ones are pulled out of their lives. I hate jail. I'll tell you, the hardest time in my life was having to touch my parents through glass.
At the root of all social dysfunction, at the root of our economic failures, at the root of what I call a societal depression, we have to eventually call a timeout, use restorative justice, use intervention techniques, use any tool we have to be able to stop the cycle of violence at the first point of intervention possible and turn it over and help people heal so that we can recover our society. The only option is to invest in empowerment, education, leadership, free enterprise, relationship, training, conflict resolution. How do we actually help people become productive in society? That's a far better investment. The cycle of destruction, anger, punishment, addiction, absolutely does not work for anybody. If we turn it upside down, we can build, lead, and innovate change. We can do it, and we must. Thank you.
What really impacted me about this project was you just don't get taught about these things.
The disparity between how much money we as a society spend on those in prison versus how much we could be spending to help them re-enter society.
I never realized the impacts it has on the family of someone who's been to prison or jail.